Hey everybody, Zero here, and this is my review for Skylanders Spyro's Adventure for the 3DS. The 3DS version is different than the console version, so this review will not really apply to the console versions, but if you're looking at getting the 3DS version, then hopefully this helps you out. So basically, the first thing you do to play the game is you need at least 2 figures. The starter pack comes with 3, so you should be all set with that. To load them into your game, you basically just have to use the Portal of Power. You just put the character on it, and you can load in 2 characters at a time. Right now I have Ignitor, who's on the left, and then to switch your character, you just touch the one that you want, and it instantly changes. So you can switch between them literally anytime. So what happens is once you have 2 characters loaded in there, this is the main, I don't know what you want to call it, I guess hub of the game world. And this little circle here is kind of the center point. You can see that the fire and the spiral, I don't even know what element the spiral is supposed to be, but that's which one Spyro is. Those 2 are lit up because those are the 2 elements I have represented by my characters right now. This little dude right here with the staff, he's kind of like the the sage leader. He's the one that changes your figures for you when you put them on the pedestal. This is the first world right here. The worlds are represented by portals in this game, and I'll get into that in just a second. At the end of each world, or each portal, there's 5 levels in each portal, and with different objectives in each level. So there's about 25 levels with multiple objectives in each. So about 125 objectives altogether, I'd say, roughly. You're basically trying to restore this crystal type thing up here. And as you can see when I go up to it right now, it says I have 4 out of 5 seekers. That means that there's only 1 level that I have to rescue the seeker in, and then I'll be done with the game. Now, there are only 5 portals, 1 in the center here, and then 2 if you go further down to the left over here, and then 2 over to the right. But if you do notice that if you come down to this kind of front area here in the center of the hub, there are 4 extra worlds that you can unlock. To get these, you actually have to purchase the adventure packs that come with a level and a character. I'm not really going to do that because it's not necessary to beat the game. It's just for, bonus levels if you want to keep playing after you're done. So each of the portals is a different themed world. There's like a snow world, there's a fire world, stuff like that. But I'll show you the breakdown of how the portals kind of work. So basically you'd go up to a level. The little crystals that you see down here where it says 16 out of 25, those are basically like stars in Mario 64. They're basically like objectives. And the portals are kind of like paintings in Mario 64. You jump into one of them and the levels are very similar, but you have different objectives in each one. So like, let's say I was to go into Tower Site Fields. That's the first level in this series of 5 levels in this portal. So if you look down at the bottom screen, here's a breakdown of the 5 different levels. There's Tower Site Fields, Proving Grounds, the Flooded Viaducts, Radiant Fountain, and Dream Gardens. And so the last level in each portal is going to be the one where you rescue the Seeker and then, get your major crystal, which there's 5 of them to get. So if you look at, like, let's say the first level, for example, as I said, it's kind of like a painting in Mario. There's different objectives. There's usually 5 objectives. Some of them are pretty easy. In fact, you can sometimes get 3 objectives, like, in one shot if you know what you're looking for as you go into the level. Gather Radiance. Radiance is just like the crystals you get while you're playing through the level. So that's the easiest challenge to get usually because there's tons of them all over the place. In this particular level, also one of the objectives is to bash chests. That's one that kind of comes up a lot. And then depending on the level, Sometimes the objectives are very similar every time. They just kind of swap them out for different different things. Like in this one it says squash chompies. That just means you have to, defeat like 5 of the same type of enemy. They're called chompies. But in a different level it might be the same thing, but in this one it's heavy beasts. So you can see, it's pretty much the same objectives over and over again. It's just with different enemies. And then the first objective in the last world of each painting, or each portal, will always be rescue, and then the name of the sage, or whatever you want to call them. Now, the levels kind of alternate. The bigger ones, you can see on the screen, there's big ones and then small ones. The big levels are actual levels that you go through. There's platforming, although they are pretty linear. They play out kind of like a Crash Bandicoot level. But then the smaller levels in between, those are actually, I don't know what you want to call them, like, it's like they just put you in a small section. You can't go through, different parts of the level. It's just one screen, and it's kind of a, I forget what the word they use is. Like when you're in a game and they basically just like throw enemies at you, and you have to just, beat them over and over again, kind of like the, the Roman things that they would throw you in. Kind of like some of the parts of Heavenly Sword, if you've ever played that. But basically what they do is they just throw a whole bunch of enemies at you, and you just have to defeat them all without dying, and collect all their radiance, and then get to the portal. So usually the objectives in those levels, after you get the first objective, which is the Radiance Challenge, to just basically collect all the radiance from the enemies, like in this particular level, there's some flames that spin around, and you just have to avoid them the entire time. There's usually a don't eat food objective. Food is basically the health system in this game, so you basically have to go through the entire level without, replenishing any health. And then some levels will have an elemental challenge, and in this case, the purple and the fire, those happen to be the elements that Spyro and Igniter are. So for having those two characters, you're able to access the 2 elemental challenges for that level. So obviously there's going to be some levels where you need to get an element that you might not have from your starter pack, and that's where buying the extra figures comes in. You can also get these presents inside the levels that unlock hats for you to wear. I'm not wearing any of the hats because I don't particularly find any of them interesting. But another thing that sets this level, or sets this game aside from the console versions, is that you can jump, and actually double jump. Because this one is more platform heavy. It's not just a beat 'em up. You can do a lot of jumping. There's lots of pits and stuff. If you fall in a pit, you just kind of reappear on the last piece of ground you were on, and lose some health. But each of the portals, the levels in it, like each specific level down here only takes like maybe 2 minutes to beat. So maybe like 10 minutes for just a quick playthrough of getting maybe like 1 or 2 of the objectives, and then obviously you have to go back for more. So I'd say the entire game only takes like 5 to 10 hours to beat, which is really short. I know you can expand it by getting more characters to unlock the different paths, and getting the adventure pack add-ons so that you can get more levels, but I mean, the game's pretty easy, and I was able to play through it with just Spyro and Igniter, and there was no problems there. I didn't really feel the need to go out and buy any other characters. So if you have any questions about the game, definitely feel free to ask me. As I said, I'm on the very end. I just need to rescue the last Seeker, and then I'm done. So I have played through a good portion of the game. If you do have any questions, either post a comment or whatever, and hopefully this helped you out a little bit. I know I didn't really go into like a level or anything, but it'd be kind of hard to control, the whole platforming with just one hand. So hopefully at least that helped you out a little bit, and I will see you guys in the next video.